Hello there and welcome back to Dukascopy TV. I'm Dermott and today we're going to have a look at something a little different. We are going to discuss innovation. Now we currently see ourselves as a generation that is very innovative and highly technologically skilled. Well, is this true? Well, yes, we do have iPhones, nanotechnology and gene therapy, but what about other sectors? Well, today I'm going to have a look at this with John Hancock from the International University of Geneva and the World Trade Organization. Thanks, John, for coming back into the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I know you like a book called The Great Stagnation by Tyler Cowen, and it looks at how America has reached a historical technological plateau. Now, what are your views on innovation?
Well, I think Tyler Cowen's produced a very innovative book, frankly. He's looked at a problem that's perplexed economists for decades now. We had very impressive growth rates coming out of the Second World War. Those growth rates in Europe and North America and elsewhere continue to stay more or less firmly entrenched right up until the energy crisis of the 1970s, and then they dropped down a level, and they've stayed that way more or less ever since. And of course, since the 2008 financial crisis, they've dipped even lower. So Tyler Cowen is asking this question: why? Why do we see these historically lower growth rates? And he's come up with a very interesting idea. He said it's not so much because of the misplaced policies we've pursued, or because of indebtedness, or because of bank failures. It's because of an innovation deficit. We're just not as innovative as we used to be. The big breakthroughs, at least in productivity and innovation, have already happened. Things like the steam engine, the railway, the radio, television, nuclear power. And in the absence of these technological breakthroughs, these big innovation leaps forward, the economy slowed down. So rather than a banking crisis or a debt overhang being the cause of our slowing growth, it's actually a symptom of slowing growth.
And if we look at developments in IT, now social media has really taken over the world. Pretty much everybody in the developed countries has some sort of social media profile. But now in terms of growth, can this actually maybe be a little bit damaging? We see in the workforce, in universities and schools, they actually block some social media platforms as it can be quite distracting. Do you think it could actually have a negative impact on growth and productivity?
No, that's a very good point. I mean, look, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when this thing started exploding, when email finally arrived on the office desk, everyone embraced it enthusiastically. This was going to be a massive productivity enhancing tool. Now, not so much. I mean, are we really keen that our colleagues at work are spending half their day updating their Facebook status or tweeting their latest thoughts on events in South Africa? I think it's a mixed picture. Would the office encourage people to bring a television into the office and watch their favorite television show? Probably not. So there has to be. We're probably reaching a point where we have a more mature view of this technology. Having said that, can we take this kind of evidence and say, well, we've reached a technological plateau? Is the fact that information technology hasn't produced everything that people expected 15 years ago evidence that we're not going to have any more technological breakthroughs, that we've actually hit the end of progress? And that's a much more controversial question. This is the kind of thing Tyler Cowen is getting at. I mean, after all, what we're really being asked to do is to predict the future. We're being asked to look into the future and say what's going to happen. And because we can't imagine it, because we can't envisage it, we maybe assume that it's not going to materialize. I think that's probably a leap of logic too far.
And many actually would kind of think it would be years ago, if they were looking into the future now, they would think 2013 we'd be living, in space, but not exactly, made that much progress in that area. It has, you're right, it has been quite slow. Looking at the public sector, it's where we see a lot of productivity is very stagnant in this area. And IT, it's not really allowing IT to be as successful and productive as it can be. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I mean, there was a famous, one of the most famous economists of the last century, the Austrian economist Joseph Schumpeter, his famous phrase was, innovation or technological breakthroughs, capitalism, is a form of creative destruction. You can't have the creativity without the destruction. You can't have the innovation without the change. It seems to a certain extent that our generation, and especially the political class, wants to have it both ways. They want to have the creation, but they don't want the destruction. They want the change, but they want everything to stay the same. And a lot of the policies we've put in place tend to discourage innovation, tend to discourage that kind of churn that comes with creative destruction. And whether or not we'll break free of that kind of policy gridlock and policies that, in a sense, attempt to shield us from change, to resist change, that's a very good question. And that probably is a political question more than a technological question.
And John, speaking of obstacles and resistance in regards to innovation, there's this guy I love, Dean Kamen, and he is an inventor. He's kind of best known for the Segway. Now he's also come up with a lot of medical equipment, and he has come up with this water purifier. And this kind of exemplifies kind of innovation and resistance to innovation, because he was trying to get companies to support him in funding going to places like Africa where they're struggling to produce water. He went on for a long time trying to do this, and finally Coca-Cola assisted him, and the project was very, very successful. But as I said, it just shows kind of that we have innovation in the world. We have great men like him inventing new things every day, but as you said, politics is kind of resisting this change.
Totally agree with you. I mean, and it's not just politics. I mean, part of this whole creative destruction idea is that there's vested interests, economic interests, who are very happy to keep things going exactly the way they're going. I mean, in the case of water purifying, I mean, it's perfectly conceivable to think that a municipal water system wouldn't want to see competitors to its supplying water, or a bottled water company. I'm just speculating. But the notion that innovation challenges not just the way we do things, but challenges entrenched economic interests is very true, and they can often stand in the way of progress. Having said that, maybe part of our problem too is that our expectations are so high. We have become so used to this constant cycle of innovation that anything short of spectacular, to take your analogy, anything short of us becoming the Jetsons and flying around our cities on mobile cars, it leaves us a little flat. Look at this launch of the iPhone 5, a remarkable device, a computer that you carry in your hand. I'm old enough to remember when you would only seen something like this on a science fiction show on Star Trek. And suddenly we get this device and they go, oh, you know, isn't this boring? The voice recognition doesn't explain the theory of relativity to me, or you know, I can't call the moon from this headset. I mean, we are in some sense a spoiled generation, and we expect technology not just to be remarkable, we expect it to be miraculous, and maybe that's expecting too much.
You're right, we are actually quite a spoiled generation, especially my generation, I would say, very spoiled. When the recession hit, 2008 crash hit, we didn't really know what to do, and it kind of came up for almost like a lost generation a little bit, because we just didn't know what to do. You know, we were expecting jobs to be handed to us out of university, and that didn't happen. So kind of it is interesting to see where the future lies. And I actually have a question just to sum things up. Where do you see the world in 50 years' time?
What do you think we're going to be doing?
Yeah.
Wow, there we go. This is this Yogi Berra idea, you know. Prediction is hard, and predicting the future is the hardest of all. Where are we going to be in 50 years' time? I'd be looking at things like, we're focused on telephones and handsets. It's in really interesting areas like genetics or in microbiology. I mean, the notion that if someone is sick because they have a kidney that's not working, that in a laboratory they can regrow your kidney or regrow vital parts of your heart, that is miraculous. That's not just remarkable, that's truly miraculous. And that sort of thing, although it's promised, we really do seem to be on the cusp of those kind of changes. And if that does happen, we're not just looking at, you know, the newest iPhone 6 and, you know, whether we can do Facebook and Twitter and calls simultaneously, we're looking at a significant expansion of people's lifespan, living much longer than we'd expected. Not our 70 or 80 years on the planet, but 80 to 100 years, 100 to 120 years. We're looking at quality of life improvements. That is a massive change, and I don't think that's so far-fetched.
And looking at that, that's actually going to kind of cause a problem in terms of sustainability. You know, we don't kind of, you know, it's good, but of course we don't want too many people in the world. I guess it's something that we'll find out, I guess, John. Thanks very much for coming in, and a great topic. I really enjoyed talking about it.
I've enjoyed it as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, viewers, I hope you enjoyed it too, and I wonder, you know, where we will be in 50 years. What do you think? Well, for now, that is it, but I hope you enjoyed it, and goodbye.